welcome back to the second half of Centre Half Reviewers analysis of AFL clubs' trades for the 2016 AFL season. So basically, I'm going to continue from my first video of analysing the trades that have occurred for each club. So continuing on with GWS, Hawthorn, Melbourne, North, Port Adelaide, Richmond, St Kilda, Sydney, West Coast and the Western Bulldogs. If you haven't already, check out the first part of this video on the channel, and then follow on from there. Or you can always simply just watch this one first and then go back to the other one for the first half, whichever team you want to look at first. So continuing on, looking at GWS, coming into the team, Steve Johnson, the big highlight for them. Obviously no longer offered a position at Geelong, so he's been picked up by the Giants and will certainly add more experience to this predominantly young side, which do have a few leaders at the club as well, but he'll simply add to that and also be a dangerous threat up front to help them out during the season. In regards to outs, a few guys that have had a number of games at the club. Curly Hampton, I mentioned in the previous video about how he can potentially improve his career at another club. Thomas Bugg, also one of the names from the first team, he's also been picked up somewhere else, and also Adam Treloar as well. So other guys who obviously no longer wanted by the Giants have opportunities elsewhere. They're predominantly the out, so no huge losses to them, which is a good sign for the youngest club in the league. So going from the youngest club in the league onto the three in a row premiers in Hawthorn, and admittedly I am a Hawthorn supporter, so I'll offer my opinion based on my actual opinion, not really biased towards Hawthorn, but my honest opinion towards my thoughts on them throughout the year. So just a heads up for those that are wondering, I am a Hawthorn supporter, so if you think I'm leaning too much in favour of them or too critical, it's because of that. So looking at their ins and outs, coming in, no huge names coming into the side, predominantly, but obviously because they're a very good team at the moment. But Jack Fitzpatrick's the biggest name there, coming from Melbourne, who had added height to the team with the loss of David Hale through retirement. He'll certainly add in that regards. Kurt Heatherly, promoted rookie, and also Connor Glass, the international from Ireland, will be interesting to see how he goes if given the opportunity in the first team. In regards to the outs, there's a few big names going out. As I mentioned before, the retirement of David Hale. Also, Brian Lake has retired. I did think he'd be offered another year, but obviously Hawthorn want to start bringing in the younger players to gel with the team and avoid that period where you lose all your big names at once and basically drop back down the table. So obviously bring the young guys into a good side gradually to keep the team going. Another interesting delisting as well, Jonathan Simpkin. He has been quite good when he's been given the opportunity in the team. So again, maybe just wanting to give the young guys a go. Matthew Suckling, he was a free agent, so he's decided to leave and going to the Bulldogs, where he will certainly help there, but still a good depth player, which Hawthorn will miss. The big one, I think, is also Jed Anderson. He was very promising, although he hasn't had too many opportunities due to injury and also opportunities in the team to get into the first team, but he was a extremely good player with potential, so it'd be interesting to see whether it's a big loss in regards to how he goes now that he's at North Melbourne. So that could be an error in Hawthorn's judgment in determining letting him go as the best option or as their preferred option. But again, not too much of an impact on their squads. So Hawthorn should still be very dangerous, in my opinion, not just based as a supporter, but in terms of the squad. They'll be very strong again next season. Going on to Melbourne, the big in is Ben Kennedy, which I mentioned before in the previous video in regards to Collingwood letting him go. He's a very promising player. Whether he develops well at Melbourne's another thing, because of the reputation of Jimmy Tumpus going over to Melbourne, and then he basically flopped or didn't do as well as expected over there. So whether being a youngster he'll go down that path again, or he'll actually be able to improve, and Melbourne will be able to develop him quite well. Other notable names: Thomas Bugg coming in from the Giants. Jake Melton's coming in as well, but again he's been affected by the Essendon saga. In terms of going out, Jeremy Howe, the big one, very good player, and he's shown that in his years at Melbourne, so he'll be a big loss to this team. So interesting to see where the spark's going to come from in that regard. And as I said, Jack Fitzpatrick's gone to Hawthorn. And also Jeremy Tumpus has been traded and he's gone to Port Adelaide. So bit of a odd case, Melbourne, like whether they where they go from here in terms of the next season, how much they're going to improve. They had promising signs, but no huge changes to the squad in terms of coming in. That's going to do too much damage, I think. Looking at North Melbourne, as I said before, Jed Anderson coming in, that's going to be a big bonus for North Melbourne. He'll be very valuable for them for years to come and is going to develop quite well. Farron Ray, they picked him up as well, who was delisted from St Kilda, so there's an added experienced player into the side. Going out, the retirement of a few players: Lee Adams, Nathan Grimmer, and then there's trades of Daniel Curry, and then the big one of Ryan Bassanek, who's gone to Brisbane. So no huge changes to their squad, but the addition of Jed Anderson is certainly a positive for North Melbourne. They've been dangerous already, so they should be no different in the next season. Looking at Port Adelaide, quite a few changes to Port Adelaide's lineup. The big in of Charlie Dixon from the Gold Coast, so they're looking at for that added height and also goal threat. But it'll be interesting to see now that the Essendon saga is ruled out rider for the season, how much more pressure is going to be put on him to perform, with Matthew Lobe the only recognised ruckman in the team, and how much Charlie helps out up front in that regard. Because basically the Port Magpies and the Sandful don't have a recognised ruckman now, unless they are referring to Billy Frampton as a possible ruckman in development. So there could be pressure in regards to the ruck in Port Adelaide for next season. Other notable ins: Jimmy Tumpus from Melbourne, and then Sam Graham's been a promoted rookie, as he showed at the end of last year, be a very good player in years to come. The outs, quite a few outs. Kane Corns retired. Tom Logan, the heart of Port Adelaide's retired as well. And then a few delistings. Andrew Moore, probably he's a good depth player. That's it. But he's going to Richmond, and don't really see how much he's going to add there. So not a huge loss, but only a depth player. He's been lost. Jared Redden, he's been delisted. He was the other recognised ruckman. So that could have been probably due to their concerns about his injuries keep reoccurring. But could have been a good, at least, backup in terms of the ruck if they were worried in that regards. And Johan Wagner, he was the winner of the recruit. He's also been delisted. Looking at Richmond, the big in, as I said as well in the previous video, Chris Yarran is the big in. So whether he's going to be able to emulate what Eddie Betts did at Crows when he went there, whether he can have the same impact at Richmond. So only time will tell, see how he goes. And no other major ins for Richmond. Going out, a few retirees: Chris Knights, Nathan Foley, the big retirement of Chris Newman. So a big leader leaving the club, and no other notable outs. So not a huge change to their squad, except for Chris Yarran coming in. So I doubt whether they're going to able to go to the next level, which has been the issue for them for the past few years. But again, they've got the potential to be a dangerous side, but not necessarily a contender for next season. St Kilda, well, their big in was supposed to be Jake Carlisle, and obviously again he's been affected by the Essendon saga, so he will not be playing. So in other words, no other big ins for St Kilda, but that's not a real issue really for them at this stage, based on how well their youngsters are developing, and they're still going to be a very good team and dangerous team to come up against. And certainly if they develop their youngsters the way they're going, they'll be very dangerous in the future, years to come. In regards to going out, the listing of Farron Ray, no longer a required player, but with the youngsters that are coming through going quite well, it's not a huge loss. And no other major notable losses to the side. Sydney, a few changes to them. Coming in, Michael Talia from the Bulldogs, obviously driven out due to the issues that arose there. But he'd be a good player, I guess, for Sydney. And then there's the international from Ireland, Colin O'Riordan, or however you say it. Sydney obviously known for their recruitment of Irish players with Ty Connelly, so he could be one to watch in how he's developing, how he develops at Sydney. Going out, there's Craig Bird, and then the trade of Lewis Jetta to the West, which is he probably didn't perform that well for Sydney last year, but he's still a dangerous player. Whether his performance was influenced by wanting to leave or anything like that, don't know, but we'll see how he goes over in the West, whether that was the reasoning behind his performances. And then the retirements of Adam Goods and Reece Shaw, two huge names that are from Sydney, especially Adam Goods. So there are lots of leaderships there, but there's other players coming through, such as Kennedy, Hanbury, and so forth, who are providing good leadership on the field and shouldn't be a huge detrimental loss to the team, and should still be a reasonably decent threat to the top four, as long as they sort out their forward line. I think where's their major issue in regards to sorting out how it's going to operate, which I don't think has really come to fruit yet, but we'll see how they go in 2016. So looking at West Coast, coming in, Jonathan Giles from the Giants, he was at Essendon as well. Another big man to the team with the loss of other tools they've had. He could be a good addition to the team, maybe in depth in that regard. Lewis Jetta, as I said, more speed to the team, which probably killed him in the grand final. Well, one of the contributors in the grand final last year in terms of speed comparison against Hawthorn, so he can add to that. And then going out, Matthew Rosa has been traded. The loss of Scott Selwood due to free agency. He's a very good player who they've lost. And then Bo Waters as well has retired. So West Coast, I think, with the squad they've got, will still be quite a big threat in terms of grand final threat, top four threat, even top two. Um, Again, making Subiaco their fortress will be likely again next season, and then they'll earn them a high position on the ladder, and then see how they go in finals and whether they've learnt from last year with um, reasonably inexperienced grand final players in the side. Um, Finally, the Western Bulldogs coming in. Matthew Suckling through free agency, one of the big ins coming from Hawthorn, so a lot of experience will be provided by him in the team in terms of finals as well, if they're pushing for that, or which they should be pushing for. Um, and also in terms of skill execution, he should be able to provide a lot of help to the young players there as well. And also Jed Adcock is also a decent pickup with his experience from Brisbane to the young team will also help. The Bulldogs should be a very big team to watch out for as well in 2016 and see how far they go. In regards to the outs, no huge losses there. Only Michael Talia, but then obviously due to the off-field issues, he had to basically go anyway. So, and he's not a major player in the team, so no big outs for them, which is good for them. Thank you for watching part 2 of my analysis of the club's ins and outs for the 2016 season. Like and subscribe and check back in for more videos in preparation for the 2016 season. I'll be looking at the new coaches in terms of their appointments, pre-season games, and also um, ranking the squads, grading the squads in preparation for the 2016 season. And also, finally, I'll be providing my tips for the ladder positions in the 2016 season.